Western Massachusetts has a lot to offer, but it's not for everybody. Let's take an honest look at the pros and cons so that you can make an informed decision on whether or not Western Massachusetts might be right for you. Welcome back to Living in Massachusetts. If you are new here, we're going to be talking about all things Massachusetts, from different investing strategies across the state to different town and community tours and more. If you're interested in real estate in Massachusetts, this is the channel for you. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and let's jump right into 6 pros and 6 cons of Western Massachusetts. Let's start off with the pros. Massachusetts is one of the most expensive states in the country, right next to Hawaii. However, Western Massachusetts offers some of the most affordable living in the entire state. In different parts of Western Massachusetts, such as North Adams, you can still find a home for an affordable price, such as right around the $200,000 price point, which even across the entire nation is considered an affordable housing unit. Pro number 2, there is much more open space and nature to enjoy in the western part of Massachusetts. In the eastern part of the state, everything is much more thickly developed for the most part, but as you head west, especially as you get into the Berkshires, you start to get into some rolling hills that are nature preserves and undeveloped. You actually buy homes for reasonable prices with some acreage. So if you're someone that really loves nature and loves the outdoors, Western Massachusetts might be a really great part of the state for you to be looking at if you're moving here. Number 3, we have the vibrant arts and culture scene. The western part of the state has a very different economy than the rest of Massachusetts, and because of this, the western part of the state, their economy is mainly driven by tourism, and with this comes a very vibrant arts and culture scene. There are a lot of wonderful museums, there are art venues such as Tanglewood, which is the second home to the Boston Symphony Orchestra. There's many great theaters, there's Barrington Stage Company. I could go on forever about different aspects of the art and culture scene, but just know if you like the arts and culture scenes of different areas, Western Massachusetts is going to be a phenomenal place for you to be looking. Number 4 goes out to the foodies out there. The farm to table scene in Western Massachusetts is incredible, and a lot of this kind of ties back into the whole thing of us having a lot more open space because there's a lot of farmland in this part of the state. With that comes the opportunity for a lot of restaurants to exist with rotating menus based on what the local farms are producing, and many of them take advantage to this at the highest level. We have some really great food in the western part of the state, and if you have not tried it yet, you should absolutely be looking to find somewhere that has a rotating menu and has offerings from the local farms. Number 5, we're going to be talking about education. And frankly, this one's true for the entire state, but Western Massachusetts is no exception. Massachusetts is known for being number 1 in the entire nation for their education, and this spans through every part of education, whether you're talking about kindergarten or higher education. There's a lot of great colleges in the western part of the state, such as Williams College. University of Massachusetts Amherst is a wonderful state-level university. So if having a very high level of education around the area that you're choosing to live is very important to you, this could be a really wonderful place for you to be looking. And finally, number 6 goes out to the small town charm that is seen in many of the western Massachusetts towns. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some cities throughout the western part of Massachusetts, but really, for the most part, there's a lot of small towns, and this is what attracts a lot of people to this area when it comes to tourism and second home ownership. The western part of the state, there's a lot of very different and unique downtowns that have the vibrant arts and culture scene. You have the wide open farmland, and all of this combined creates this area's allure. Now, just like any other great place to live, there are some downsides to living here too. And for the first con, let's talk about the job market here. Let me preface this point by saying that there are good jobs available here. You just might have to look a little bit closer for them because we don't have the booming economy as some of the eastern parts of the state. When it comes to really good tech jobs and whatnot, areas such as Boston are obviously going to have a much stronger market for those types of employees. We don't have as many major employers in the western part of the state. We certainly don't have as many tech jobs, and we also don't have as many high-paying jobs as the eastern part of the state. The western part of the state, the more affordable cost of living you see out this way, comes with the downside that the earning potential is probably going to be a bit lower here. Our second con is going to be the lack of new construction homes in the western part of the state. The problem here is lumber costs just as much in Boston as it does in somewhere like Pittsfield or Amherst. And when you look at the real estate values, homes sell for a lot more money in somewhere like Boston as opposed to somewhere like towns in the western part of the state. So the developers are much more focused on the eastern part of the state because there's a lot higher profit margin for them to achieve there. The western part of the state comes with a territory of likely shopping older homes. We have a lot of beautiful historic homes here, but if you're looking for new construction, It's not to say that you cannot find it. It does exist. However, it's much rarer. Your options are going to be very limited, and you may just have to be more patient. For our third con, the western part of Massachusetts does not have a major airport. We have small airports where very small planes can fly from. If you're someone that's a pilot as a hobby, we do have airports. But when it comes to commercial flights, when you're looking to travel both domestic and especially overseas, your options are very limited. For many parts of western Massachusetts, you're going to be looking at flying out of Albany, New York, or out of Hartford in Connecticut. And with this comes over an hour to an hour and a half drive time. And both of those airports are primarily going to be servicing domestic flights. If you're flying overseas, you may be traveling to Boston or to JFK in New York, and this is going to be a 3-hour drive to get to the airport before you hop on your very long plane ride and you go through security. So the additional time to travel is quite unfortunate, frankly, but it's not a deal breaker for many. It's just important that you know this before you move to this part of the state. Number 4, if you happen to be an entrepreneur or business owner, when it comes to finding great talent in this area, it can be much more challenging. Because this area doesn't have as strong of a job market, it doesn't attract as high of a quality of talent, and this can make it challenging to find the people that you need to run your business. The people are there, they're out there. It's just you're not going to have the abundance that you may find in some more major cities, and it may take a bit more effort to sift through candidates to find somebody that's truly qualified for what you're looking to achieve. For con number 5, the slower pace of life here is a double-edged sword. If that is something that you're attracted to, that can be a wonderful thing about the area. But let's talk about it in context of it being a con. We have a much slower pace of life in western Massachusetts, and with this comes some unfortunate things, such as lack of nightlife. We don't have as many options when it comes to late-night foods, or if you're someone that wants to go out and be getting dinner at midnight, that's going to be really tough to do in a lot of parts of western Massachusetts, or even past 9 p.m., frankly, on certain nights of the week. People don't get back to emails as quickly here. People are here for the rural experience of a slower pace of life. And if that's something that you would find frustrating, western Massachusetts is certainly not going to be the place for you. And to finish this all off, our 6th con and the final of 12 points, let's talk about public transportation in western Massachusetts. If you don't own a car and you want to move to western Massachusetts, you should probably consider getting one, because getting to work and getting to the grocery store and getting to all the things that you need is going to be so much more difficult here. That's not to say it's not possible to find a house or apartment with everything you need nearby, but it's much more unlikely, and you'd have to be very patient to be able to build this type of lifestyle for yourself. Typically, if you're moving to this part of the state, you're going to need a vehicle to get around. The bus infrastructure is there, but it's really not great. When you look towards like subways and stuff like that, we don't have any of that. We actually don't even have Uber in the Berkshires, which to many of you is going to sound absolutely insane. But if I pull up Uber, it's a 50-50 chance whether or not somebody's going to be driving on that platform to pick me up. So you're better off at that point just trying to call a local cab and getting where you're going that way, because of how inconsistent Uber is going to be. So if you're somebody who really doesn't like to drive, western Massachusetts is not going to be the place for you. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. That's my list of pros and cons for western Massachusetts. Looking forward to seeing you in the next video. I'll see ya.